With the great success of Sonic Adventure, both Sega and Sonic Team USA took the natural next step from a business standpoint and made a sequel. This game was released in 2001, shortly after the Dreamcast was discontinued, and even though the system was no longer with us, this game did release to very high praise and sales. As a matter of fact, this title is considered by one to be one of the best titles to be released for the Dreamcast. Of course, me not having a Dreamcast, I'll be taking a look at the re-release of this game for the GameCube. Now for the question of the hour. What do I think of this game? Well, I'm going to take this from the top and let you know in a few minutes. There are two main campaigns to play. You can choose to play as either the heroes or the villains, and like the first game, the storylines will overlap each other. This game begins with Dr. Eggman breaking into a secret military base to steal said base's secret weapon. This weapon is a highly advanced hedgehog that goes by the name of Shadow. Once Shadow escapes from captivity, he vows to help Eggman, of course assuming Eggman can get his hands on some Chaos Emeralds for him. Shortly after Shadow escapes, Sonic finds himself in some trouble with the military. Why is this? Well, apparently most people in this universe are both colorblind and stupid, as they mistake Sonic for Shadow. This leads to Sonic being locked up, but things do take an upward turn as his sometimes not completely useless sidekick Tails shows up to rescue him. After they make their escape, Eggman proceeds to blow up half the moon in order to effectively hold the entire world ransom. Wait, Robotnik actually did something threatening? Am I still playing a Sonic game? Well, anyway, after discovering this shocking development, it's up to Sonic and friends to stop Eggman, Shadow, and the newcomer to the series, at the time anyway, everyone's favorite furry fanfic character, Rouge the Bat. Her story is nothing too special. She wants to steal the Master Emerald from Knuckles, however, due to some outside interference, the Emerald is relegated to shards. Deja vu. So once again, Knuckles heads out to cause a mass amount of property damage, desecrate ancient ruins, and destroy anything in his path to get his hands on the Master Emerald shards, with Rouge of course doing the same. This game plays fairly similar to the first, with a few exceptions. As for Sonic and Shadow, you probably know what to expect. You will be running at very high speeds while fighting your way through jungles, prisons, and city streets, leaving chaos and destruction in your wake. Our heroes, ladies and gentlemen. But of course, along with these two, you also have both Tails and Eggman, whose levels are basically a mirror of each other. Instead of flying around, this time Tails is confined to his transforming plane. In this mode, Tails stomps around levels, destroying anything and everything in his path, with Eggman doing the same in his campaigns. Just like the first Sonic Adventure, once both storylines are completed, you unlock a secret final storyline, which will properly conclude the game. Unlike the first game, however, this game has a multiplayer element added. You can play against one other player and by either race them through a chorus, fight them in mechs, attempt to find a gem before your opponent, and you can even kart race. But along with the multiplayer mode, there is also the matter of chows. Chows are these adorable creatures that can be found while traversing levels. Once you find one, it is up to you to raise it as your own. Depending on if you raise it via a dark or hero character, the chow will turn out differently. Once the chow is raised, you can take said adorable creature and let it race against other chows, or, much like Pokemon, you can take these adorable creatures and let them viciously fight to the death! Okay, that's a bit exaggerated, but you get the idea. Overall, the main campaign should take you around 8-ish hours, of course varying for how long those damn Knuckles and Rouge stages take you. Speaking of which, now for the reviewing. Let's take a look at the graphics first. While not too impressive, these graphics were fairly decent for the time, not to mention they were a major step up from the first game. I mean, sheesh, at least the mouths somewhat match up with the lip syncing this time. Along with just the character models, however, the levels themselves do look pretty good and are fairly well designed. Moving on to the gameplay, well, let's start positive. Once again, I feel that the best gameplay aspects are divided between both Sonic and Shadow. Both of their levels are fast-paced, fun to play, and do require a decent amount of strategy. The Tails and Eggman segments, however, I'd say are just okay. There are no real issues in fighting off adversaries, however the controls here can be a bit stiff, which is problematic considering this game is in fact a platformer. What's even more problematic about these segments is that while you can control the camera, in close quarters the game feels the need to control the camera for you, causing headaches, aggravation, and of course, deaths. But how are the treasure hunting segments with Knuckles and Rouge? Well, the controls do work fairly well, and aside from occasional stiffness, the camera shouldn't give you too much trouble, but honestly, I find these segments really boring. Call me crazy, but I don't play Sonic games to spend the better part of 10 plus minutes scouring a level looking for a piece of a gem, with only vague hints as to where to go. Not to mention, the meter which indicates when you are near a gem shard is usually not very precise. Now, I have spoken with people who greatly enjoyed these segments, and to be fair, there's nothing really wrong with them, but personally, I could think of other things I could do with my time, such as watching grass grow. In my review of the first Sonic Adventure, I did mention that the voice acting did leave something to be desired. I naturally assumed that in the sequel, this problem would be remedied. I hate it when I'm wrong. The voice acting in this game is bad. Almost every character sounds wooden, dorkish, or completely moronic. But it's not just the voices themselves that are bad, oh no. The dialogue is no better. Let's put it this way. Many of Sonic's lines are so cheesy that Diamond Dallas Page would tell him to tone it down. But even worse than the dialogue is the audio mixing. The characters will often talk over each other, talk extremely quietly, or be drowned out by the music. Whew. Okay, since the beginning of this show, I've always tried to clarify the difference between whether or not the game I'm reviewing is any good, and whether or not I think it's good. Because many times, there is in fact a difference. Now, I'm sure I don't need to tell you that I don't particularly care for this game, but is it actually bad? Well, in many cases, yes it is. However, that's not necessarily because it was bad to begin with. If I were to look at this game back when it was released in 2001, I'm sure I would have had a much smaller list of complaints. This is really just an example of a game that hasn't aged very well. So, I personally wouldn't recommend this game, but if you're interested, it is fairly easy to get your hands on a copy, and if you already own it, well, enjoy. So until next time, this is E-Dog saying, regardless of how bad a Sonic game may seem, they can always get worse. See you next time.